This is an addendum to the webinar 27 that I did back in November and was adding data to a pub file and showing how I expanded that exterior boundary. So in that, I made a complex shape out of my exterior boundary, and my triangles actually did not update because complex shapes do not react to that terrain model attribute that you set. So whether it's a boundary or break line or interior void, as they're called now, a complex shape does not react to that. So that's what I was using in webinar 27, and this video is going to show you how to properly do that, or how to fix the issue if you've been using complex shapes. So I've got that same data that I've been using for all my webinars here, and I'm going to add some topo data to this side of my terrain, and then expand my exterior boundary using a method of the complex shape. So I have my existing boundary in my survey field book as a BX, and it is a graphical feature. If I select that and go to my properties, you can see my creation type is graphic. So I just added it to my existing topography survey field book, right clicked on this all linear features, and then added that graphic linear feature, set the boundary, and worked that way. I got this graphic from using the terrain tab boundary options and add boundary and the extract graphic option here. So that's how I got this original graphic. When you do that, it makes this a line string, not a shape. Notice I have it selected. My element is a line string. So I'm going to go ahead and add that additional data. So there is my additional data, and I want to expand this exterior boundary to include that. It didn't include it because I have an exterior boundary and I have my survey processing rules activated. So I'm going to reference in the working file that I used to extract this, and I actually created the graphical boundary per my webinar 27. So let me go ahead and attach that civil working file for this added data. And I'm just going to copy this graphic that I created before, and then detach that reference because I do not need it. So now I've got this new graphical element. This graphical element, again, is a line string, not a shape, because it was extracted using that same method, the terrain boundary options, and add boundary, extract graphic. But now I want to splice the two boundaries together to make one continuous boundary. So I'm going to go use this break element tool and break by point. Select those vertices where I want to break it to merge it together. Notice when I broke that existing boundary, which was a graphical element in my survey field book, that my triangles modified. They went back. Essentially, I don't have a boundary in there anymore because it removed this from the survey field book because it was just a graphical element. So let me go to the other end and do the same thing. Let me make sure I'm selecting the right thing. Make sure my striping is turned off. It is. Okay. I'm going to turn off my triangles to make this easier to select. So I can delete these pieces of the graphics that I do not need on both boundary graphics. And now I'm going to go through and do the complex shape like I did in the webinar and just show you that it's an easy fix to make it work. So I'm going to go use this create complex shape tool. I'm going to go ahead and do the manual method. I'm just going to start at one end and work my way around. Notice it's highlighting it as it's going around. So it's highlighted all the way back here. I can right click. Oh, excuse me. Let me go back and do that again. So I left clicked on that, selected it. Now I need to left click one more time and then right click to get it to close. So now I have a new graphic, and that graphic, notice it changed to a white. It's on the default level, and that is assuming the attributes that you have set here. It's fine as it is because we're just going to import this into our survey field book as a graphic linear feature. So I have it selected, and just to show you, it is a complex shape created out of a bunch of line strings. But it is a complex shape. So I'll go ahead and turn on my triangles again so you can see this not work. So to add this to my survey field book, I can go right click on my all linear features, add graphic linear feature. Again, following my prompts, it says identify element. I can select that, left click on it, accept or reject. I want to accept that. And it brings it in on the default field code. So I can go to my pop-up display. And in the webinar I mentioned the pop-up display is the easiest. You can also do this in your survey details or through your properties dialog. If you do it in your survey details, you have to do the field code first, or else it becomes a little more difficult. So I'm going to set that field code to BX and my terrain model attribute to determine by feature definition. And notice nothing happened. So I can go, let's say, well, maybe this is messed up. I'm going to set it as boundary. Still nothing happens. So I'm going to go back, set it to determine by feature definition. Again, this is a complex shape, so I want to get it out of a complex shape. So the easiest way to do that is to use your break element tool. I like to use the break by point and go to one of these vertices and just left click using your snap, making sure you're snapping to that vertice, just left click. And that drops it from the complex shape into a, I'm guessing a complex chain. It's just a line string. So when I did that, notice my triangles updated, and now they match that exterior boundary. So you may also notice this interior boundary right here is, it's a shape, but it is not a complex shape. So if you notice, it is a shape, but it is not a complex shape. So whenever I drew this interior boundary in, I just used my smart line and drew it in and closed the shape, and that created that as a shape, but it's not a complex shape. So I can go right click on my all linear features, add graphic linear feature, select that feature. Again, it's going to bring it in on the default field code. So I can go modify that. So if I can do that through my properties, I cannot do it through my properties. There it is. So I can go change that field code to boundary interior, set my terrain model attribute to determine by feature definition, which is going to make it a void, and then those triangles disappear within that. So again, that was a line string that I closed on the beginning, so it converts it to a shape. It's not a complex shape, so it works properly. So that is the fix for this. So in webinar 27, I had a note in there that mentioned this process of the complex shape not functioning in the survey field book. The fix for it is to go up and use your break element tool. If you have used complex shape, use your break element tool and just break it at a vertice that drops it to a line string, and it should function properly. A defect has been filed with Bentley, and we will see what happens with that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.